A big thank you to some of our frontline workers. Bill Gunther in Bel Air created a huge banner and hung it on his bus, thanking essential workers, from the doctors to the child care workers, restaurant workers, and so many more folks.
This is a personal thing. You know, I own these school buses and I'm a contractor with this county, but this is a personal thing. This is me being grateful and thankful for all these folks.
And we thank you, Bill. He says he hopes this inspires others to find a way to say thank you to everyone who is working during this pandemic. You know, they are used to traveling all around the country to elite volleyball tournaments. Now the Masters Volleyball Academy is trying to stay sharp while they're staying at home. WMAR 2 News' Sean Stepner shows us how they're doing it.
Bump, set, spike, social distance.
It's definitely proved to be a challenge.
Chelsea Mead is the co-owner of Masters Volleyball Academy in Baltimore County, a premier club volleyball organization that fields 18 teams with players ages 9 to 18. She coaches the oldest ones.
Volleyball is a unique sport. It's not one that you can train virtually very easily, just because you generally need another person, if not multiple people, a net.
You also need another very important piece of equipment.
I've recently learned that half of my own players don't even have a volleyball.
With practices and games put on hold, Mead has her players getting creative to stay sharp, sending in video for analysis.
They're just serving over the garage against the side of the house. They've got targets that are on the side of the house, and they're just trying to hit consistency.
For the college-bound seniors, they're focusing more on their next school's conditioning program. For the juniors who are missing this prime time to impress college scouts, staying off the court is devastating.
And you've completely wiped that out. And that's a huge thing, because video it's not, seeing you in a game-like setting.
Her message to her players and all athletes during this time: there's no excuse to let anyone work harder than you, no matter what you do or don't have.
If it's what you want and you're willing to put in the work, you have this huge opportunity to come out on the other side of this ahead of most people, because most people aren't doing the work.
That's an approach everyone can follow. In Baltimore, Sean Stepner, WMAR 2 News.
All right, thanks, Sean. You know, the CEO of an internet and software supplier for the medical industry is encouraging his employees to do good deeds for folks in need. Steve Ree is the CEO of New Innovations, and to motivate his employees further, he promised to reimburse them for up to $50 for any act of kindness. Workers responded by making medical shields for local hospitals, buying groceries and water for the homebound, and donating money to food banks. With 80 employees, Steve could potentially pay out $4,000, and he says he's happy to do it. Some of the employees are even turning down the reimbursement. Others are matching, giving their own $50, all to do a little good for the community, and we need more than that. That is great. All right, let's check in with meteorologist Eric Taylor, who is joining us from home tonight. Eric, was it my imagination, or did I see the sun today?
You saw plenty of the sunshine today, Kelly, but definitely some sweater weather out there for mid-April standards, and not seeing too much, at least in the way of relief from the cool conditions in the forecast ahead. Over the next couple of days, we'll be in the 50s instead of the 60s. We should be at about 65 degrees this time of year. We only squeaked out 54 with a cold start this morning at 38. It'll get a little bit colder tonight and then again the next night. Precipitation a little over 5/100ths of an inch in the bucket, and some locations did even report snow. So the temperature carousel, here we go. 53 on your Thursday, 59 on Friday, and then back down to 55 on Saturday. It's not until Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week we get closer to the average high temperature for this time of year, but we're still slightly below average, and that's because of the upper air pattern and the cold air. It just won't let go of the eastern two-thirds of the country. Not much movement in the northern jet stream. The southern jet stream keeps all that warm air bottled off to the south, and that will remain that way at least as we head into the weekend. Temps outside right now in the lower 50s, so if you're stepping out, a light sweatshirt will be needed. Even colder, though, back towards the west. Check out Columbus, Ohio at 43, 39 in Cleveland, and 47 right now in Pittsburgh. Those areas will actually see some snow here tonight, and that's where the winds are gusting upwards of 30, even 40 miles per hour. We'll get a taste of that around here tomorrow. The cold front coming in from the west, another frontal boundary. It will come through dry. You'll notice here not a lot of precipitation along that blue dash line, but up towards Cleveland and back down towards Columbus, there is some snow, and that will make its way into the mountains of Maryland overnight tonight. As that storm system comes up and over the mountains, it will dry out here. So we're just looking at some clouds, maybe a sprinkle north and west of the city. Carroll and Frederick County would have the best bet for that, but all in all, just a few clouds overnight tonight, and then we'll be on the lookout for some more rain moving in as we get towards Friday, as another front rolls our way. Snowfall totals in the mountains, another dusting to an inch for them. Around here, it's just chilly with some extra clouds, 37 degrees, and calm conditions with a southwesterly breeze at 5 to 10, 34 in Parkton, 34 in Westminster, 39 in Annapolis. Freeze watches up back towards the west, the end of at least the start of the growing season, a little bit delayed out there. Another sky show above tonight, clear skies and a few clouds from time to time. We'll have 1 hour before sunrise, southeast sky, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn in the skies above. Thursday planner, we got some sunshine out there, sun and clouds, gusts upwards of 30 miles per hour. Highs tomorrow in the lower 50s and upper 40s, and your 7-day forecast looks like this. 53 with breezy conditions on Thursday, 59 on Friday, and then some more rain, but temps are back in the 60s as we get towards the beginning of next week. So lots of ups and downs, and at least a long cool spell here for the middle of April. Overnight lows, check out tomorrow night into Friday morning. Very chilly and frosty there at 35 degrees, but a rebound once again as we get towards the beginning of next week. We'll have more news coming up after the break.
You know, we're surrounded by four walls, but by watching us every single night, you find out that there are good people in our world. And you know what? They are good to know.
No matter where Andy Michaud goes, he tends to draw a crowd. Each day, the bagpiper chooses a different Denver area neighborhood to play in where residents can take a break and listen to joyful music.
I doubt many people see a piper come through their backyard.
The high school music teacher will continue to spread joy for as long as the pandemic continues. What could have been a huge waste blossomed into a welcome surprise. An Indiana florist had dozens of flowers meant for funerals or events that were canceled. Instead of throwing them out, John Schaefer put together bouquets to pass out to community members.
And I kept a social distance, so I just put their flowers on the doorsteps so they didn't have to be afraid of any exposure. So yeah, they were absolutely delighted.
Schaefer says it was time to give back. A Virginia woman is using her love of reading and writing to help children get through these trying times. Every week, she writes a story and reads to listeners on her Facebook page, Storytime with Nana. One of her recent stories, Something is Different, helps to explain the pandemic to children.
Instead of going to school, you will stay home and Daddy and I will teach you.
I thought, you know what, let me just do a little story for you, and maybe you can read that story to them so that they are feeling like, oh, this is going on everywhere.
We all could use a fairy tale ending right now, and she hopes her stories provide families a bit of comfort.
And more than ever now, Jamie, we need stories like that.
Yeah, we got more news and weather coming your way.
Sorry, I just missed talking to you, Jamie. WMER 2 News at 6 is coming up next.
You're watching the station that's working for you. Now, WMAR 2 News at 6.
Lots going on in the news today. Thanks for joining us for WMAR 2 News at 6. I'm Kelly Swoop.
Costello, home front here today on WMAR 2 News. Kelly, we got some, I think, good news out of Annapolis today.
Yes.
Light at the end of the tunnel. I know it's a cliche, but man, those words rang true into our hearts and all of our homes here today. WMAR 2 News' Abby Isaacs joins us now live in Annapolis with the message that the governor gave all of us today. Hope, but there is a couple of hurdles yet. Abby?
Governor Larry Hogan is cautiously optimistic that we're nearing a point where we need a recovery plan, a return to a little sense of normalcy. He said that despite death counts continuing to rise, other data is showing that social distancing measures are working. Now the state's working on things that need to be done in order for some of those measures to be lifted. It includes more testing and more contact tracers to investigate every positive patient. Today, he announced big developments for both that will triple our current testing capacity and quadruple the amount of state employees and contractors tracing those positive cases. Hogan couldn't give a timeline for when social distancing measures could be scaled back, but he said as early as next week, he'll begin conversations with experts to put together a recovery plan.
But I can assure you that those plans will be well thought out, gradual, and safe. Because if the recovery is not done in a thoughtful and responsible way, it would not only cost lives, but it would deepen the economic crisis and actually prolong the problems and slow our recovery. There are some very...
Hogan said the last 48 hours have been the most deadly for Maryland since the pandemic started, with 87 deaths. So he said Marylanders still need to be on alert, practicing social distancing, and come Saturday, use face masks or face coverings inside all retail establishments and while they're on public transit. Now that includes all employees. So this doesn't go into effect until Saturday morning because Hogan wants to give businesses enough time to get their employees ready with those face masks or coverings. But once again, that starts on Saturday. For now, live in Annapolis, Abby Isaacs, WMAR 2 News.
And right now, we have 10,032 confirmed cases of COVID-19 cases in our state. The numbers, remember, are names and relatives and family members here. That's 560 more cases than we had yesterday. And the majority of those cases are in Montgomery and Prince George's counties. 349 people have died. And today, the state started releasing the number of probable deaths from the virus. Now, a death is classified as probable if the person's death certificate lists COVID-19 as the cause of death, but it has not yet been confirmed after a test in a laboratory. So again, that's what we're learning from the state. Now, a Northwest Baltimore nursing home has 170 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Mayor Jack Young announced that Future Care in the Lock Hearn facility has 129 cases among residents and 41 cases among staff. And Future Care says it began widespread surveillance testing at the site, and we're told that many of the people who tested positive didn't even show any signs of having COVID-19. And here's a story about a Baltimore native who packed his bags, went up to New York to help with the COVID-19 spread. He's a traveling nurse. WMAR 2 News' Dave Detling tells us what this nurse has to tell us tonight.
This registered nurse graduated from Towson University, and while he did work here in Baltimore with some COVID-19 patients, he says now being in New York City, it's unlike anything he's experienced before.
Make sure you sanitize. I don't want none of what y'all got. Listen.
Tyron Tyson goes by the Urban Nurse on YouTube. His brand is full of personality, but behind the high energy, the Baltimore native is just trying to make a difference in the world. No stranger to helping out others in a crisis, he's now in New York City, working as a travel nurse at a Brooklyn hospital. He's on an 8-week assignment, and while he's dealt with COVID-19 in Baltimore, he says what New Yorkers are dealing with is on an entirely different level. He says the threat of COVID-19 is serious, and he hopes Baltimoreans who are not taking the virus seriously start listening.
I've never seen so many acute patients in one setting in the emergency room, so it really took me back and kind of, it was a nice punch from reality that, this is serious.
And while Tyson says he became a travel nurse to see the world, his assignment in New York City, he says, is no vacation. He's there another 7 weeks. In Baltimore County, Dave Detling, WMAR 2 News.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. They actually have a new testing site for COVID-19 at the Timonium Fairgrounds. It opens tomorrow. Will be open on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you can't just show up just like all the other ones. You need to have a referral from a healthcare provider, and you have to schedule an appointment. You don't have to leave your vehicle to get tested. The results will be available for you within 5 to 7 days. You know, a lot of people would normally be giving the IRS money on this tax day. It's April 15th. Instead, 80 million Americans received payments from the agency. WMAR 2 News' Mallory Safaste has tips on the best way to spend that economic relief payment and what to do if you're still waiting for money.
Tax day was pushed back to July 15th, but if you've already filed, then you likely received your coronavirus relief payment. That's because the IRS started with people whose banking information they already had on file.
A payday to help anyone hurting financially from the pandemic. Millions received upwards of $1,200 to $2,400 from the IRS with no strings attached. But before you spend that money, first, check that it's in your account.
There could be a hold by an institution.
John Bratsakis, president and CEO of the Maryland D.C. Credit Union Association, says to make sure the money clears. Then, before sending it anywhere,
Prioritize, where you need the money the most.
Focus on the essentials, groceries and medicine, and bills you're not getting a break on.
If you're affected or having challenges during this time, they are deferring payments for your mortgages, for auto loans, for different things. If you just need to pick up and have that conversation.
If you don't need the money right now, prepare for a financial hardship in the future, such as losing your job.
We always talk and discuss and recommend that people have at least 3 months worth of